Hello, Lewis Anderson here. Today I'm going to be doing a sort of commentary on this video of flying the circuit at Prestwick Airport in a Cessna 152. Now I'm doing this because some of the other videos I posted seem a little bland with just the video themselves, like sometimes lasting over about 40 minutes. Today we're set to last for about 50 minutes, with 45 minutes of flying time. Okay, so we start when we're taxiing onto the runway. We've already done our run-up checks. Now one of the reasons I post these videos and take these recordings is so I can review my flying and have a look and see how I could improve. And also, again, having it on YouTube, if there's other experienced people out there, they can watch and perhaps suggest ways in which I can improve. So we're about 55-60 knots and we've rotated, climbing to about 75 knots, and then we'll go into our climb. Now I said we're going to be doing a left-hand circuit of runway 13, which is where we just took off from. So when we reach 500 feet, we're going to turn on our crosswind leg with quite a shallow turn. Now one of the great things about Prestwick is it's a very big runway, but it is also a pretty quiet airfield, which makes it really nice for flying training. It was used a lot more during the Cold War with NATO aircraft flying over the Atlantic. And there was quite a lot of military activity. There still is to this day. A lot of military activity. Okay, about 800 feet, we're going to be levelling out at 1000 feet for our cruise. Well, we're going to be flying at about 90 knots, 95 knots, with a power setting of 2300 RPM. Trimming the aircraft is something I used to have a bit of a problem with, trying to get it into level flight. Notice in this video we did drift quite a bit sometimes 200 feet before we got on to final. So perhaps I could be doing trying to get my trimming a little bit more accurate. So we're on downwind now. heading base here. And anytime now we're going to be setting up for the approach, which will be a carburetor heat on, flaps down, and into approach configuration. So there's the power trickling back, flaps down 2 notches to 20 degrees. Another good thing about Prestwick is there's loads of different reference points that you can memorise and know what you should be doing at certain times in the circuit. Now doing a gentle turn on to final with runway 13. For a touch and go. A little bumpy on the approach. And actually a problem that we were having on that day was the wind getting disrupted, and this bad air coming from the building to our left getting blown across and causing some quite bad turbulent descent onto the runway. But this first landing didn't seem to be affected by it as much as the others. The flaring now, a little bit too much, ballooned a little, and smoothly down onto the runway. Flaps are up, the trim is on takeoff. And again rotating at about 60 knots. Turning onto the crosswind. We're at about 600 feet now, if you can see the altimeter. This is of course recorded on the GoPro HD Hero 3. So it's really good, really impressed with it. If you don't know what it is, it's just basically an action camera that's it's very versatile. You can get different mounts for it and so on. I use a suction cup mount to attach it to the side window on the 152, but it can be used for all sorts of things like water sports, parachuting, basically you name it, it'll do it. But people also take it diving. It's got a waterproof cover, case which comes as standard with it. Okay, now we're turning onto downwind. You do see that there's a bit of vibration on the mount of the camera. I think that's just going to be unavoidable in a light aircraft with propeller, because you get different materials resonating at different frequencies and so on. But I think the camera handles it pretty well. Okay, right at this moment, air traffic control, Prestwick Tower, has told us that there is a Royal Navy rescue Sea King headed in for HMS Gannet, which is in the vicinity of Prestwick. So we're going to have to enter an orbit around a quarry that's just to our right off of here, and an antenna which is right next to it. We're going to do 2 orbits just to be sure that we're not going to be caught in any of the turbulent air generated by the helicopter, which can be very bad for general aviation aircraft. Visibility was really good. Today, that this was filmed. You can see right over onto the Carrick Hills over there, down to the south. And pretty much to our 1 o'clock just now is Troon and Troon Harbour, which is in Ayrshire on the west coast of Scotland. And we're going to go into another orbit around the antenna and quarry. This time I think we go a bit wider on the approach into the orbit, and we'll see a bit more of the quarry. Okay, now we should be able to join the circuit again on the base leg for runway 13. shift 10 degrees. If you can see out to the water toward 12 o'clock, there's a little sort of island of rocks, which I find useful when coming in on the base liner for runway 13. You just aim the nose of the aircraft a little bit to the left of it, and it stands in good stead. Also a bit of a bad effect on the camera there is the sun is behind the propeller. Of course, spinning at thousands of, well, at this stage about 1700 RPM, and the camera running with a frame rate of about 29.97 NTSC. So you do get some weird effects. You tend to notice it more with RC aircraft footage with the GoPro though. Because the RPM on them is a lot higher actually, I think. You've got propellers a lot smaller in those things. And again on to final runway 13. Yeah, and you see a lot of the vibration in here. That could be because it's the frequency at which either the window resonates at or the camera mount. It's just in that sort of power setting in that region of about 1500. I guess that one was acceptably smooth, although slightly off center of the center line. Again, 75 knots into the climb. You can see the Ryanair hangars off to the 3 o'clock. And turning crosswind. about 950 feet. Going to start to level out here. And accelerate to about 90-95 knots. And then onto the downwind leg. This is for another touch and go. You'll see on the, just as we're about to flare on this one, we do get hit by a, I suppose you could describe it as a blast of turbulent air, which has came over the warehouse to the left of runway 13, which really disrupted the descent towards runway, and it ended up in a pretty hard landing. Doesn't look as dramatic in the footage here as it did feel inside the aircraft. Off to 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock over there, there's the paper mill. Now just turned away from it. Onto our base leg. Bring the power back and set up for the approach. There's a golf course directly below us. They do hold many tournaments there. I believe there was one time that Tiger Woods did play there, but I'm not entirely sure. And on to final. If you look to your right, you see the yoke, which is empty, not being used, which is directly connected to the one that I'm using in the left-hand seat. Now by looking at this, you can see the inputs that I'm making. Okay, as we're coming down here, watch for where we hit the turbulent air. And I think it's the left wing drops a little. Yeah, and pulling back. That's a bit hard. Throttle back in and rotate. Ryanair hangars again to our 2 o'clock. Passing through the passenger's window. If you look far out to through the right white window, you should see the NATS centre of Prestwick. There we go. I've passed it now. Turning on to our crosswind leg. And levelling off, about 950 feet. And now, 1,000. Now we're gaining speed, reducing the power, and any second now we'll begin our downwind turn. Right now the instructor has control. Now this time we're going to be doing an approach and go around. And the controls back to me. Just thinking theirs are flying over the beach. I used to look up when I was out at the beach at the aircraft flying over and wondering what it'd be like to fly one. And now I get the opportunity to do so. Okay, so now I think we have full flaps for the go-around. Again, turbulent air. And full throttle. And pull away to the right. Just so we're not above the runway. Have a straight line to follow, and if any aircraft is climbing, we're not going to hit them. Taking the flap off here, trying to maintain the correct altitude while we're doing so. See, I just caught the nose there. And then the last bit, catch the nose alright here. Yeah. So this time we're coming up on a full stop landing. I have to say the landing that we're about to do on this circuit is one of the good ones that I've done. It's pretty nice and smooth. On the touchdown. So here we are downwind. There's those paper mills I was talking about, just a little bit right off the nose. Now this time we're going to come in a bit high and we're going to land further down the runway, so as to avoid the turbulent wind from the direction of the warehouse, which makes it a bit choppy on the way on the approach. So we're going to come in high here, so you'll see 4 white lights on the PAPI. Just selecting our aiming point on the runway there. It's going to be around where the Pappy is, actually. We turn on final here. In just a few seconds. If you look at the Pappy, the four white lights, and sort of draw a line straight out to the right of them, that position on the runway is where we're going to be aiming for. If I'm right, we landed slightly after it. Yeah, if you see that now. The runway at Prestwick's just under 3 kilometers long, so a light aircraft like this can operate in a fraction of that. The runway at Cumbernauld is about 850 meters long. So we're reducing the power now, starting to bring the nose back, and there's a power off, flaring, and smoothly onto the ground, on the centre line as well. I was happy with that. So now we're going to taxi along the runway and turn off for Apron Echo. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the quality of it. I think the camera is absolutely brilliant. If you can see any things that I could improve, feel free to comment below. Of course, constructive criticism would be good. But apart from that, thank you for watching. You can always like it, favourite it, do whatever you want. You can also subscribe to my channel for more of these types of videos. Just basically anything aviation related, whether it's flight simulators, actually flying the aircraft, like this one, or flying in a jet airliners. I'll post that up here. Also rockets and stuff to do with NASA, I like to have on my channel. So, thank you.